Hello, dear students, and welcome to our lesson today, which is part 2 of figurative language. Last time we covered part 1, where we talked about similes and metaphors, and I think we also talked about personification, which we'll revisit right now for a few minutes. So we talked about simile being a comparison of two different things using the word like or as. And we gave an example, or one of the few examples that we gave were such as the bird flew as high as a kite. We also talked about metaphor, which is a comparison of two different things without using like or as. So the difference between a metaphor and a simile are basically these two words, like or as. So in one simile, you use like or as, but in metaphor, you don't. An example of a metaphor is you are a shining star. Thirdly, we talked about personification, where we give human traits or human characteristics to objects or ideas. An example would be the stars are hiding now. Okay, so these are the three types of figurative styles or language that we used in our previous lesson of part 1, simile, metaphor, and personification. You also did a quiz, and I'm hoping that you are reading your notes to master what we are doing or what we did last time. On top of this, we're going to go to our part 2 of this lesson, where we will learn about idioms. All right, an idiom is a phrase or sentence which means something different from its literal meaning. All right, so what is an example of an idiom? An idiom that you've probably heard of before is break a leg, where someone does not really mean that they want you to break your leg literally, but what they're trying to say is that they're wishing you good luck or they're wishing you well in whatever it is that you're planning to do. Another example is I could eat a horse, which is to express how hungry you are. In this case, you're very hungry. This is a very common idiom with most of my students when we have a lesson just before lunchtime. And what they're trying to tell me is that they're very hungry and they would really like to go to the cafeteria, all right? So I am so hungry I could eat a horse. Okay, so this is to show that you are very hungry. Another example, it's raining cats and dogs. This is to mean that it's raining heavily and not that cats and dogs are falling off the sky, all right? So the next time you see that it's raining very heavily in our city, just use this idiom to say that it's raining cats and dogs to show that it's raining heavily. So this is what we call idioms, and those are examples. If you want, you can always look up more of examples of these figurative language. I will give you a few more, such as get a taste of your own medicine. Get a taste of your own medicine. This is used to say to someone who is getting a revenge or is getting treated the way they treated someone else, or to give someone a cold shoulder. You use this when you want to show someone or you want to express that you're ignoring someone. Another example is good things come to those who wait. Okay, this is to express patience or to ask someone to be patient. Alliteration. All right, this is very common or a very common style of figurative language, which is the repetition of identical or similar consonant sounds at the beginning of words or in stressed syllables. All right, please note that this is the repetition of consonant sounds, not just letters, consonant sounds. And this shows at the beginning of words. Let's look at some examples. So she sells seashells by the seashore. This is a very classic example of alliteration. So she sells seashells by the seashore. look at the highlighted words in red. So those letters show examples of alliteration in this phrase. Another one, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, right? Keep in mind to look at the highlighted letters, and those are your alliteration sounds. You will also hear the same sounds in brand names or company names and in advertising. So some companies such as Coca-Cola, I'm sure you've heard of that. You also know the program Donald Duck, SpongeBob SquarePants, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, right? And I have one set here for you. See if you can have fun with this and try to say it as quickly as you can. I tried it and I just cannot do it. All right, let me try again with you. Silly Sally swiftly shooed seven silly sheep. The seven silly sheep, silly Sally showed shilly shally show. Okay, all right, okay. I cannot do it. So see if you can practice doing it, and then the next time we meet up, let's have a competition in class to see who's gonna be able to say this faster than anyone else in class, okay? Next, onomatopoeia. These are sound words or a word that actually looks like the sound it makes. And we can almost hear those sounds as we read. Some examples of onomatopoeia sounds are slam, splash, bam, bubble, warble, gurgle, and so on. And if you want, you can also, think about sounds that machines make, such as cars, cars vroom, you know, animals like dogs woof woof, or human sounds or voices such as whisper or giggle. You know that giggle that you make in class? Yeah, that one is an onomatopoeia sound, okay? Hyperbole. All right, exaggerating to express a strong feeling. Hyperbole are used to exaggerate or to express a strong feeling. Okay, to exaggerate means to say something in an exaggerated way, to make it sound much more bigger than it actually is. All right, an example of hyperbole is I will love you until the end of time. Now, it is unlikely that the speaker here will live that long. End of time is a very, very long time. Okay, so this is an exaggeration. My dad would kill me if he knew about this. Well, unless your dad is really, 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 a really, really bad person, he would not do this. But a dad wouldn't actually kill his own child for whatever reason. Okay, so this is to exaggerate or to show that this person is really scared about what they have done and what his or her dad will do to them once he finds out. Okay. My book bag weighs 1,000,000 pounds. All right, this is to express that the bag is extremely heavy. Right, 1,000,000 pounds is, it's a lot of things. If you know container or shipping containers, think about hundreds or thousands of those. Yeah, those ones would weigh 1,000,000 pounds. So you cannot compare that to a book bag that you bring to school, but it means the same thing, that your book bag is very, very heavy. All right, something that is troublesome to a lot of students is this frequently asked question: what's the difference between hyperbole and idiom? What is the difference between these two? Now, hyperboles are exaggerated statements that are not meant to be understood literally, whereas idioms are usually popular or common phrases that are not as easy to understand right away. Let me give you some common hyperboles just to help you see the difference. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. Okay, another one. This bag weighs a ton. This bag weighs a ton. Now, a ton is something very, very heavy that is, cannot be compared to your bag. But what you're trying to say, like what we've talked about previously in the last slide, is that your bag is very, very heavy. Now, common idioms. It's raining cats and dogs. Like we said, cats and dogs would not be falling from the sky, but what you're trying to express here is that it is raining heavily. Another example, piece of cake. Okay, this is not to mean that someone is giving you a slice of cake or a piece of cake, but basically what you're trying to say here is that whatever that is easy. You can do it. Piece of cake, that quiz was a piece of cake. It means that quiz was very easy. Now, as you can see, idioms differ from hyperboles. So hyperboles are obvious exaggerations. So not the word exaggerations to make something bigger than it actually is. And idioms are phrases or sentences that cannot be understood with the separate words of its own, but has a meaning nonetheless. So idioms have a meaning behind them, while hyperboles, yes, they do have a meaning behind them, but the words used are a form of exaggeration. All right, so now we are going to do a quick quiz just to check your understanding of what we have learned. Question number 1. My father is the funniest man in the whole world. He is so funny that when he tells jokes in public, the whole town has to go to the hospital for side pains. So this is an example of what? Think about it before you go to the answer. This is an example of hyperbole. All right. It is not possible that the speaker here has met every comedian in the whole world. He knows that his grandfather or her grandfather is the funniest person in the world. Well, chances are that this person has not traveled the whole world to meet every funny person. Okay. All right. Question number 2. Stop pulling my leg. So the underlined phrase, pulling my leg. All right. So what do you think that is? And that is an idiom, which means to joke around with someone. When you're pulling someone's leg, you're joking around with them or you're trying to fool around with them. All right. Number 3. What is the onomatopoeic word in this sentence? We have an onomatopoeia word in this sentence. That's a very, very tricky word. All right. When Hannah stepped on the gas, she took off so quickly that her tires screeched. When Hannah stepped on the gas, she took off so quickly that her tires screeched. Which one is the onomatopoeic word in this sentence? Think about it before you go to the answer. Okay, the answer is screeched, and that is the sound that is made by the tires in this sentence. Screeched is the sound. And which of the following is an example of an alliteration? Which of the following is an example of an alliteration? A. Splendid Sarah saw special shells. B. Lucy jumps at least 100 feet in the air. Or C. The sky is blue and so are you. Remember, alliteration is repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of words. All right, so which one is it? Go through them again just to be sure. And the answer for number 4 is A, because A has a repetition of identical or similar consonant sounds at the beginning of the words splendid, Sarah, so special. Okay, remember we have here letter S, which has the sound sir, and the word shells has the sound sh. So we exclude shells because of the sound difference. Okay, and that marks the end of this lesson. Please remember to revisit your notes on this presentation as well as the notes provided in your review pack to study more about figurative language. All right, I always tell my students studying is not magic. You actually have to go and revisit your notes. Okay, you master by practicing. And remember to also use figurative language to add some zest and flavor in your writing, which will make your writing very interesting to your readers. Also, Please read books and stories to get more inspiration. You only learn by reading and practicing. And until next time, take care and study your notes.